Welcome to another 5-Minute Flip.
What is up, Flip-Eponymai? Welcome to your 5-Minute Flip for December the 13th, 2024. If you've been listening at all for the last few months, you know I've been heading down to the river on Mondays and having some solitude time with the Lord. And that time has been transformational for me. I just posted on Facebook and Instagram. I took a social media fast as well right before the election, the Saturday before the election, and then I completely did a fast for well over a month. I don't know, a month and a half, close to 2 months, and I'm still just using social media a tiny bit. And I recommend that. Man, that was a really good spiritual practice for me. I do not have any social media on my phone right now. I just am using it on my computer here and there to post things. Like I've been taking a photo every week of the same spot on the river for the last 10 weeks, and it's been really cool to see the seasons changing, the leaves change, and just so there's 10 photos, kind of a flip book. You can watch the leaves go from late summer to into winter. But during that time, man, there's and I'll keep coming back to different things on the podcast as I have already been, but it has been a really, really good time for me to be able to connect with God. And I keep saying when I talk to people about it, I wish I could bottle that up and just carry it with me throughout the week. One thing I haven't talked a lot about yet on the podcast is I was diagnosed earlier this year with ADHD, and sort of adult onset ADHD could be a name for it. I won't get into all of how that works. But really since I moved to Grand Rapids 5 years ago, I know that some really heavy stuff was going on in my mind and my mental health, and some things changed. And I didn't know what it was at the time, and I've always had little traces of ADHD. But since then, some pretty significant symptoms of ADHD, and I didn't know what ADHD even was. And my counselor did a great job of helping me identify it, sent me to a specialist for a full test. And anyway, I say that to say it's hard a lot during the week for me. It's hard Tuesday through Friday. For multiple reasons. I want to get to the point of this flip, but the difficulty when I say I want to take that time with God, I think we all, whether you have ADHD or not, you could relate. I mean, I want to take this time with God that I'm having on Mondays, and it is a time of peace. It is a time away from my strivings at the river, and I'm going through the winter. I'm committed. I put my snow pants on. I'm going to go down in the snow. If it's awful out, I'll just go for a couple minutes. But to have that place that's now a kind of a sacred space for me, where my brain, my mind, my system, my actual physiology, relaxes when I get down there, and away from the static and the noise. And then I come in, to work Tuesday through Friday in my office, and I work alone most of the week, which is not great for ADHD. And I've prayed and desired for a long time to have sort of a co-laborer to work with, shoulder to shoulder, a co-pastor, and that's the direction we're moving towards. But it's just not where we are yet. As a 3-year-old church plant, we don't have the resources for that, and so you could call it focus. I get overwhelmed with my tasks. I have a lot of tasks to do, and Tuesday through Friday can be a grind, and it's difficult to connect with God. Being at the river is unique. It gets me outdoors. I've never been able to connect with God indoors in the last few years in a really significant way when this ADHD stuff started. And the river has just been this beautiful thing. So I was talking to my spiritual director last week about all this. It's a lot of discernment I'm going through, just a lot of things. I'm like, I don't know how to fix this. I need a solution, this sort of thing. And she recommended the spiritual practice of centering prayer. And I want to share that with you. Today. So I've talked on the podcast before about control. I've done sermons on control. I have some good podcast episodes. You can go back and find them. about control, both 5-minute flips and long form episodes, because it's something I continually struggle with. And when you plant a church, there's a lot on the line. And so it's easy to get a lot of anxiety around things. And it's really hard to let go of control. I would say it's impossible. Like, you can't, in the sense of someone says, just let go, you just can't just flip a switch to let it go. And talking through this with my spiritual director, and she invited me into the practice of centering prayer. And that's not a part of my background. I have done centering prayer before on retreats, but up to this point in my life, I have really resisted adding these practices on a regular basis. I feel like my way is working. I don't have time for them. Well, my way is not working anymore. And I am in desperate need, for the presence of God and for him to be with me. My way is not working, and to surrender into his way. And so I just want to share with you some pieces of centering prayer that could be a guide for you. And what I love about it, to kind of go full circle with what I was saying earlier about needing to be outdoors, I found myself able to practice centering prayer indoors. I am able to practice it in my office, in spaces where my brain is a little off, where I'm feeling that fog, that sense of being bogged down. And so I want to invite you to check centering prayer out as well. When I am at the river, it's silent, it's quiet, it's just the sound of the river. There's a dam near the river, so I can hear that water falling. It's just really gorgeous. When I do centering prayer indoors, I've been using a playlist I found on Spotify. The playlist is just called Worship Ambiance, or Ambience, however you want to say that. And it is a 35-hour playlist, and I'm just giving you a little bit of the details if you want to find it. The artist is William Augusto, and I think every song on here is by him. So I play that, and it's just ambient music in the background. There's no words. And here's some pieces of centering prayer. One question, kind of that my spiritual director asked is, what do I need to die to? Part of that is dying to getting it right, getting this right. But centering prayer is giving permission to God to do in me what I absolutely can't do for myself. And that's how I start my centering prayer practice. I just say to God, I give you permission to do in me what I absolutely can't do for myself. And there's a phrase you can use to sort of come back to center, to kind of collect your attention if it strays. And it's just the phrase, "Welcome, Holy Spirit." So I like to start with just saying, "Welcome, Holy Spirit." And then my prayer, and I invite you to pray this as well, as we say to God, number one, I give you consent to do your work in me. I surrender myself to you to do your work in me. I can't fix this on my own. My spiritual director said, you can't do surgery on yourself. We are consenting to God to do surgery on us, to put ourselves on the table, on the lab table, the hospital table, the surgical table, and just give him consent to do his work in us. And the beginning of these prayers of release is, I release my need for affirmation and approval. And just sit with that. And those are two different things. You may want to sit with one individually or two together. I release my need for affirmation and approval. And just you don't have to even do it consciously. Just let all of the ways that you seek affirmation and approval come to the surface. And they'll come. Just let them come. And both metaphorically and physically, I open my hands to God and just say, I'm open-handed. I'm surrendering. I'm not clutching. I'm letting go. And sit with that for as long as you need to. There's 4 rounds of this release prayer, and you sometimes it's a bit much to do them all at once. And so sometimes you just just sit with one of these. I release my need for affirmation and approval. Welcome, Holy Spirit. Next, I release my need for power and control. We can't just do that on our own. We're asking God to do the surgery in us. And the act of sitting and centering prayer with hands open and weekly or daily saying to God, I release my need for power and control. It does a change in us gradually. It's a gradual change that starts to happen internally in us. And let all the things come to the surface of where you strive for power and control and where you clutch power and control, striving with affirmation and approval. Huge area of striving for me. The third one, I release my need for safety and security. I release my need for safety and security, and let all the ways we clutch and strive for safety and security come to the surface. Relational security, financial security, safety. With open hands, I consent, I surrender. Welcome, Holy Spirit. That God would be my safety, that God would be my security, and just to sit without words. This is not a prayer of words. You pray the release, and then you sit in silence. And if you get distracted, you say, welcome, Holy Spirit, to bring it back. And fourth, I release my need to change any person, situation, including myself. I release my need to change any person or situation, including myself. Whew. Talk about a prayer for a pastor or a church planter. I'm releasing my need to change any person, including myself, or to change any situation, including myself. I am a changer. I'm a fixer. I'm a visionary. I vision cast it and then do it. And I'm telling you, my way is not working. Sometimes that works, but it doesn't work. It's not working. It is not working for my soul rest with God. It is not working for my soul health. I release my need for affirmation and approval, for power and control, for safety and security, to change any person or situation, including myself. God, I give you permission to do in me what I absolutely cannot do for myself. I give you consent. I surrender. Welcome, Holy Spirit. I invite you to try centering prayer, to keep trying it, to sit in the river and let the Holy Spirit wash over you. I think if we sit in the river long enough, I know if we sit in the river long enough, a stone goes from sharp and rough into smooth and round because the water pours over it time and time and time again. And that is the path of spiritual formation. You don't put the rock in for 5 seconds and pull it out, or 5 minutes and pull it out and wonder why the transformation didn't happen. I'm telling you, I'm 41. I turn 42 next month. I'm in my second half of life, and I am embracing this. I am so thankful that God is inviting me to this invitation. He's invited me to it many times before in my first half of life when I was too busy and my way I thought was working so well. And I'm so glad that he's brought me to a point of brokenness and of things not working to bring me into this place. And I'm ready. I'm ready to do this the rest of my life. So I invite you to it, whether you're ready now or perhaps you'll be ready in 5 or 10 years. God is inviting you into this intimate space with him to release yourself to him. Thanks for listening to this 5-minute flip. I'll see you next time on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to this 5-minute flip. Subscribe for more flips and long-form episodes of The Flip Side. Visit www.patreon.com/NoahFilipiak to support and get sweet Flipside swag.